Hello and welcome to the Office of the Patriot. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back and thank you for tuning in. My name is Myron Ybarra and I'm your host. Earlier this week, I was watching an episode of the Fox News program Outnumbered, where I saw a video of people protesting. They were holding up signs that read, "Healthcare is a right" and "Housing is a right." And in all honesty, I can't even remember what the topic was, but it was the signs that caught my attention. I thought to myself, why do some people believe that things like housing and healthcare and food are rights? So, let's define what is a right. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a right is a moral or legal entitlement to have or obtain something or to act a certain way. Generally, rights fall into three categories. Natural rights, also known as human rights, are derived from nature. Some people also refer to these rights as God-given rights. The right to protect yourself and the right to life fall into this category. Sometimes these rights are codified into law as well. Next are moral rights, which are based on the idea of goodness and justice. They revolve around approved behavior in society. An example would be a right of autonomy as an adult. Moral rights are usually not enforceable under law unless that right is of narrow scope and is usually granted under civil code. The last set of rights are legal rights, which are codified in official documents such as our Constitution, statute, case law, or policy. Given that legal rights are the basis of our system of government, let's summarize the rights enumerated in the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment actually codifies several rights to include freedom of speech, the right to assemble to protest our government, the right to practice religious beliefs, and the freedom of the press. The First Amendment also prohibits government from favoring one religion over another or establishing its own religion. The Second Amendment protects our right to keep and bear arms. The Third Amendment prevents government from mandating homeowners to allow soldiers to commandeer their homes. The Fourth Amendment restricts government from unreasonable search and seizure of a person or property. The Fifth and Sixth Amendments provide protections to people who are accused of felony crimes. Some of these protections include a review by a grand jury, protection from the right of self-incrimination, right to a speedy and public trial, a right to an impartial trial by jury, among other rights. The Seventh Amendment refers to a right to a jury trial in federal civil cases. The Eighth Amendment bars the government from assigning excessive bail and fines, as well as protections against cruel and unusual punishment. The Ninth Amendment refers to unenumerated rights, such as the right to privacy. And the Tenth Amendment limits the power of the federal government, only allowing it to exercise powers enumerated in the United States Constitution. If those powers are not listed, then the presumption is that they belong to the states or the people. So we learned in the Ninth Amendment there are some rights that are not spelled out in the Constitution that may be conferred on the people. And these rights are called unenumerated rights. Rights like the right to cross or travel across state lines and the right of privacy are considered unenumerated rights. These rights typically are derived from common law, but also from case law and legislative statute. If we have unenumerated rights guaranteed by the Ninth Amendment of the Bill of Rights, then by that same measure, why can't we have a right to health care, housing, and food? Well, you remember Oxford's definition. They refer to a moral or legal entitlement to have or obtain something. The right to privacy or the right to travel unobstructed across state lines is something that can easily be provided by government because it doesn't force anyone else to give up any rights of theirs to allow you to travel or to have your privacy. However, a right to housing or to healthcare or to food requires government to take from one to give to another. And that action conscripts a person to service or servitude of the government or another person for the sole purpose of benefiting one person or a person who is claiming that right. The 13th Amendment, unfortunately, prohibits involuntary servitude, otherwise known as slavery. Government should never be allowed to compel citizens to provide a good or service to another citizen. So now the question is, why do we have a number of people, especially on the left, making claims that they have right to things that they in fact don't have rights to? People who make these claims are basing it off either their immediate need for the good or service they view as a right, or on their emotional governed belief. Most people have been in a situation where somebody has something that they need or they want, and they will do just about anything to get it. By claiming that what they want is a right, these people are hoping that the claim will compel the people, or in this case the government, who has or controls the item to give it to them with little or no cost, or no consideration on how that right is provided. I believe that the entitlements provided by our government are viewed by the recipients as having no true value because they are free to them. As such, The free housing they receive won't be taken care of. The free health care and education will be abused or discarded because it's now a right and not an entitlement. You can see this behavior play out in the slum areas of many major metropolitan cities. Look, Americans as a whole are very generous and considerate people. Sometimes, especially on the left, their compassion and their selflessness clouds their judgment when it comes to the idea of what is a right versus an entitlement. They advocate that people have a right to something like free healthcare or housing or education when there's no direct cost to them. However, once they learn of the cost associated with providing these rights or changing them from entitlements to rights, most people, while still advocating for that right, will either reduce the benefactors, like saying that certain people can get free housing or school, and or they will advocate for increasing the conditions for claiming the right, like you have to be a certain ethnicity to have this or that right. What this all boils down to is motivation and accountability, or in some cases lack thereof. When people believe that healthcare, education, food, and housing are things that should be given to them because they're rights and not earned, they bypass the struggles that I believe are necessary when acquiring these things. Sweat equity and accountability are necessary parts of the structure when building success. When you remove those trials by providing these things as rights, you diminish their value as well as the value of the person receiving them. Rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are rights that we should all celebrate. Yours and my right to life, liberty, and pursue happiness does not come with a guarantee of success, just the right of equal opportunity to those things. So, my opinion, go out there and earn your housing, earn your food and your health care, and work for your education like every red-blooded American did before you. Take pride in your accomplishments you make towards these goals, and share the fruits of your labor with your family and friends. When you get to the sunset of your life, you will look back and you'll find that the rights enumerated in our founding documents were all that you and I needed to build a happy and prosperous life. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed the presentation, please take the time to subscribe, like, and share my channel. It is, after all, a fledgling channel, and your subscription will allow me to continue to provide you with meaningful and thought-provoking content. God bless, and stay safe out there.